Good morning, everyone. Good morning. So good to be together. Wow, well, last count I saw 95 viewing screens, which I'm going to say is something close to 130 of us all gathered together for worship here at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Buffalo. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Joan Montagnes, and I have the honor and privilege of serving you, this congregation, as minister. It is so good to be together. It is so good to have you here, stretched across the ether to create a worship space of caring, memory, and hope. A little note about a Zoom worship. This is a webinar. We can't see or hear you. We know you're there just because your names pop up in the participants list. You can't hear or see each other. You can hear and see our worship associate, Charlene Montgomery, our special guest star from Evergreen Health Services, and you can see me, your minister, the Reverend Joan Montagnes. You can also chat with each other all the way through the service. We really don't mind. More interactive, more better, I always say. I want to offer a big thank you to Josh Disick, John Petroselli, Justin DeClean, Karen Streech, Bobby Withrow, Paul Zanoli, and all our music staff who help create our worship experiences every single week. Few announcements for you. Look for the survey from the Reopening Task Force in the e-blast and in the newsletter. We're interested in finding out what it is or how it is that you feel about gathering together. We're collecting a little bit of demographics too, just so we can have some ideas and put together a plan about eventually, someday, hopefully, getting into our church again. We're especially missing some data points from young families and young people. But if you haven't filled out the survey, your data point counts very highly. So whoever you are, wherever you are, please fill out the survey. If you're worshiping with us, we want to know. Next announcement is from the Stewardship Department. If you have not made a stewardship pledge of financial commitment towards the 2021 church year yet, we would love to receive it soon so we can wrap this pledge campaign up in a little bow. Now more than ever, our strong liberal religious voice needs to be heard from Elmwood Village to straight through to Washington. Now's the time to care for each other and for our wider world. I do want to tell you about some special services. We're not going to have any more Vesper services until further notice. I promised that we'd have them for October. We had 5 Fridays in October. They were great services. Thank you for coming out, those of you who did. And it's just got too cold and COVID rates have got too high. We're not going to do it. However, on November 11th, Veterans Day, we will be holding a Veterans Day service outside the garden entrance at 11 a.m. So November 11th, 11 a.m. And for all you Canadians in the ranks, it is Remembrance Day. And also we're very, very likely, it's one of these save the date things because we think it's going to happen. We're very likely going to have a November 20th Transgender Day of Remembrance service, and that'll be at 7 p.m. in the sanctuary. November 20th, Transgender Day of Remembrance. And that would be held in the sanctuary if we hold it at all. Last announcement is about Zoom fellowship time. After this service and after every service into the foreseeable future, we will hold a Zoom fellowship time. Now, this is a Zoom webinar where you can't see or hear each other. Log out of this at the end of the service, and at 11:35, we will open up a Zoom meeting where you can hear and see each other. And then we divide you into groups of like 5 people, 5 fabulous folks, new friends, old friends, lots of hot topics to talk about. The address to that Zoom meeting is in the e-blast, the newsletter. Hopefully somebody's putting it in the chat, and it will be on the last slide of this worship service. And that's all my announcements for today. Taking a deep breath. Come, let us worship.
Liberation has a rhythm to it, a longing our bodies know without words, a movement away from everything small and scared, a waking up to possibility, healing backwards and forwards. Even now, we are beginning again, unafraid of this much mercy, tenderness, pleasure. We come to lean in, to learn the sound of relationship, like the sound of our names, receiving and releasing. We come together to become more than ourselves, to call upon love, to sing of courage and kindness. Despair hasn't won yet, nor overwhelm, which is a kind of miracle, surrounded as we are by this much beauty. Come, let us worship.
I like to light a chalice at the beginning of every service to mark the time as sacred and holy and set apart from the rest of the mundane day and week. I invite you, as we light our chalices together, maybe you have one at home, to say with me the chalice lighting affirmation. We gathered in loving community, inspiring one another to transform ourselves, to create a more just and compassionate world. Let's join in singing When I Am Frightened.
If you show me acceptance, then I may learn to give as you do. Then I may learn to give. When I am troubled, will you listen to me? When I am lonely, will you be my friend? Will you be there for me? Comfort me tenderly. Will you share some of your feelings with me? If you will show me commitment, then I may learn to love as you do. Then I may learn to love.
When I was growing up, I had a best friend who was a monster. Not a kid who happened to be monstrous, though I knew a few of those too, trust me. But a real live monster. I had a friend who was a real live monster with long, shaggy green hair and lots of sharp teeth and dirty nails, long, dirty nails and a pointy tail. My monster friend was great. I loved my monster friend. And Monster was always interested in being part of what was going on, what was happening. This story is about something that happened to us years ago. Monster needs to cast his vote to pick the president. I want to be part of something that's part of this incredible event. I say to Monster, don't be mad. I know this might sound mean, but you're not allowed to vote. You need to be 18. Then I'll run for president, Monster said to me. I'll give a voice to young and old, from 2 to 93. Monster, what's your platform? Why should people vote for you? Well, summer should be longer, and a fix is overdue. He grabbed a soapbox, went to town, and talked about the seasons, how summer should be twice as long, and listed several reasons. Sunflowers, roller skates, strawberries, ice cream, swimming pools. Monster's oratory skills were filled with monster flair. But no one stopped to listen, and the people fled the square. Monster, maybe summer isn't what the voters need. Perhaps a change of issues if you're going to succeed. Dessert for dinner, Monster said, is where my passion lies. So Monster ran on eating sweets, which seemed a bit unwise. A chocolate cake in every plate, a pie in every pot. Monster spoke at town hall, but his words were all for naught. I said to Monster, I don't think they're interested in treats. You'll need different issues to get voters in these seats. I'm confused with politics and what it's all about. No one seems to like me, so I think I'll just drop out. Monster looked discouraged. He was ready to resign. But he became inspired when he saw a closing sign. The library is closing. That's a crime that can't take place. To fail on education is a national disgrace. We started a grassroots movement, going door to door with posters saying, "Reading turns your voice into a roar." Protecting schools and learning tools was Monster's major mission. And in debates from state to state, he crushed the opposition. The voters loved his message, and the campaign came alive. That is, until they realized he wasn't 35. Monster, you're not old enough to be the president. The law's the law. We have to stop. There is no argument. It's not about me winning, but the message I convey. A fight for education, I hope, never goes away. Monster was persistent, and his message kept on growing. Even on election day, there were no signs of slowing. Monster made a difference, though he was too young to run. And Monster's roar in politics had only just begun.
Hi, my name is Akua Menzedu, Chief Equity and Inclusion Officer at Evergreen Health. Evergreen Health is a comprehensive healthcare system that focuses on medical, supportive, and behavioral services. We often serve folks that are underserved by the larger healthcare systems for Western New York, including Jamestown and Buffalo. In terms of Evergreen Health, we also have affiliate programs that are under our structure as well. Community Access Services, which focuses on communities of color and health promotion, as well as the Pride Center of Western New York, which focuses on quality of life for LGBTQ people. Evergreen Health was founded in 1983 during the height of the AIDS epidemic. In that time, we really helped people prepare for end of life. Since then, with the advent of innovation in medicine, we've been able to take care of people and have them live healthier lives. Because of what's happening currently with the global pandemic, we find ourselves in a parallel situation with COVID-19. The communities that we serve have been hit the hardest, and communities of color specifically have been disproportionately impacted by COVID-19. Because of that, we find ourselves looking at things like social determinants of health, access to healthcare, access to job and opportunities, as well as access to food. At our affiliate program, Community Access Services, we recently launched a pantry, and we find that a lot of folks need help in this desperate time. We want to continue to provide these vital services to the 14215 community. We need the help and support from the Western New York community to continue to provide these services. We're looking for financial support from community organizations and individuals to keep these pantry efforts going. Thank you, Unitarian Universalist Church of Buffalo, for honoring us with this Share the Plate recipient of November. Thank you for your support of Evergreen Health, as well as other community partners in the area doing great work as well.
You can use PayPal by going to our website, www.buffalouu.org, and clicking on the blue Donate button. Or you can send a check by mail to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Buffalo, 695 Elmwood Ave, Buffalo, New York, 14222. You can also arrange a regular automatic deposit with your bank. If yours is a gift to our Share the Plate ministry, please write Share on the memo line, and it will be shared between Evergreen Health and the church operating budget. If yours is a welcome gift to our congregation, please write Pledge 2020 on the memo line. Either way, please write UUCB on the important line and we will do the bookkeeping. Our generosity can help heal the world.
Just look at all these hungry mouths we have to feed. Just take a look at all the suffering we breed. So many lonely faces scattered all around, searching for what they Is this the world we created? What did we do it for? Is this the world we invaded against the law? So it seems in the end. Is this what we're all living for today? The world that we created. You know that every day a helpless child is born who needs some loving care inside a happy home. Somewhere a wealthy man is sitting on his throne, waiting for life to go by. Whoa, whoa. Is this the world we created? We made it on our own. Is this the world we devastated? Right to the bone. If there's a God in the sky looking down, what must he think of what we've done to the world that he created?
I don't think we can hear Charlene. Am I right? Okay, I'll take the reading. Yeah, your sound came out a couple times today, so I'll take the reading. I'm sorry about that. Our reading is from the Twitter feed of Dr. Dominic Apollon. In a series of tweets and pictures on April 19th in 2019, Dr. Dominique Apollon, Vice President of Research at racial justice organization Race Forward, recounted his experience of finding a bandage that actually matched his skin tone. He wrote, "It's taken me 45 trips around the sun, but for the first time in my life, I know what it feels like to have a Band-Aid in my own skin tone. You can barely even spot it in the first image. And here he gave us a picture. For real, I'm holding back tears. Not like I didn't know these strips existed, but I definitely didn't expect the complex emotions that would swirl as I watched, just as it blended in. A seemingly trivial exercise I've repeated 1,000 times on my body with regular ones since childhood. Self-administered anti-Blackness. This felt like belonging, like feeling valued. Sadness for my younger self and millions of kids of color, especially Black kids, like a reminder of countless spaces where my skin is still not welcomed, feared, hated. Like, why am I really thinking all this about an effing Band-Aid? Let's join our hearts and minds in a quiet moment of prayer, meditation, and reflection. May we live with greater compassion and care for ourselves, others, and creation. May we touch each other more deeply, hear each other more clearly, and see each other's joys and sorrows as our own. May we strive to be and become more than we are, more loving, more forgiving, more kind, more honest, more open, more connected, more whole. May we heal and be healed. May we face uncertainties and tragedies, aware that life is both fragile and a precious gift, and that we are not alone. Today, we specially hold in our hearts Ellie Lawson, who's now living with some major damage to her heart, and Karen Jarvis, whose cancer was dormant for 18 years and has now had a reoccurrence. And now let us invite into our worship space the names of all our loved ones, suffering in sorrow and celebrating in joy, each name a breath, and each breath a prayer. The breath of nature is upon us. The spirit of life is within us. The community of love is among us. So be it. Blessed be. And let the church say, Amen. All right. All right. So Tuesday's the big day, right? Souls to the polls. All Souls Day at the polls. It's a big day, right? The one day in 4 years you get to go cast your ballot for president. Unless you've already mailed it in or voted in an early polling station. Hmm. Well, at least on Tuesday, the big day, we'll get to know who the next president will be, right? Or at least we'll know maybe in the wee hours of Wednesday morning or not. Probably not. By now, we've all pretty much conceded that the results of the elections will be definitively announced days, weeks, maybe even months after November 3rd. And heaven only knows what will happen in the meantime and in the wake of a decision. These are days of massive uncertainty. Between the current president, the future of the presidency, the deeply divided people, the pandemic, climate change, economic insecurity, and all the societal ills of our world, these days, we hardly know what we can depend on from hour to hour. Hard to figure out what in our lives we can control. Even a trip to the grocery store is fraught. Everyone is under a phenomenal level of stress, and we're all feeling just a little raw, right? Maybe retreating a little too often into the reptilian cortex of our brains. A couple of days ago, I was at a rally in Niagara Square protesting conditions at the Erie County Holding Center. Donna Robinson was there. Hi Corral was there. And a bunch of others. I mean, it was not a big rally, but it was a rally nonetheless. And this guy drives by. This guy drives by holding a Trump sign out his car window, shaking it at us, bellowing at us like an angry bull in a voice deep and loud enough that I am sure it shook the windows of City Hall. I was, I'll admit, a little stunned. Our gathering had nothing to do with Trump. Nothing. It had to do with treating our neighbors like human beings. Last week I mentioned that when you begin to shake things up, question the status quo, or protest the status quo, some people get scared. And when people get scared, they can get mean, and this guy was getting mean. So here we are, a few short days before the election, a vote which practically represents a referendum on the cultural ideology of this nation. And people are getting raw, shaking stuff up, getting scared, and getting mean. How in heaven's name, in this day and age, can we become a people of healing? Dr. Dominic Apollon remarked on the seemingly trivial experience of using the same old regular band-aids he used since childhood, an exercise he called self-administered anti-Blackness. Then one day he used a bandage from a different manufacturer, and he said putting on a bandage that actually matched his skin tone felt like belonging. It took him well beyond the band-aid. He felt both valued and sadness for his younger self and millions of kids of color, especially Black kids. Those pasty pink bandages that he'd used 1,000 times before were reminders of the countless spaces where his skin was still not welcomed, where his skin is considered other, feared, hated. A wound plastered on a deeper wound, a sickness that pervades our society, a wound called white supremacy. Maybe a bandage that honors a person for exactly who they are might help in healing the whole. So here we are, a few days before the election. But you know, democracy doesn't begin and end with a slip of paper every 2 years. Voting, the vote, is not the only way to shape society, to reclaim democracy. It's just the tip of the iceberg, although the tip is indicative of the larger whole. Democracy, this is what democracy is. Here's a definition for you. Democracy is entering into community, transforming the community with your presence, and in turn, being transformed by the community. It's a give and take thing, clearly not a spectator sport, as we have heard. The vote is a vital and small part of our decision making, but like any iceberg, there is much, much more beneath the surface. You, as a member of society, are not just responsible for voting. You're responsible for discovering the policies, practices, and issues that light your fire and capture the hearts of the people. You are responsible for government policy. I think we've all seen what happens when we leave governing up to the politicians, when we leave caring for the people up to the politicians. Even the best elected official can't heal the world all on their own. They need us. So today, as the election looms large, I'm thinking about the bellowing bull from Niagara Square. I'm thinking about fear and meanness and healing. I'm thinking about our own hurt. How many of us these days are frightened, uncertain, angry, sometimes thoughtless, troubled, or lonely? What do we need to heal ourselves and heal the whole? To go beyond the Band-Aid? How can we offer our neighbors reassurance, compassion, acceptance, and commitment? Could we, as people of healing, share our stories, feelings, and questions with a goal of understanding one another? Could we listen to one another and comfort one another? I wonder what open-hearted questions I could have asked that Niagara Square bellowing bull, questions that would have helped me understand his wounds. What is he frightened about? A friend of mine told me a story. She said she'd been at a protest demanding universal health care. And prior to the event, she had been trained to engage the opposition. So when a mounted police officer arrived and faced her, she asked, as politely as possible and full of love, "Officer, does your employer provide health coverage?" And the cop nodded. So she asked him, will you and your family have coverage if, for whatever reason, you lose your job? And my friend watched as the officer's mind went through the possibilities and his face changed. That was the end of the engagement, but it was a moment of connection and healing. Oh, my beloveds, this world is so bruised and hurting. There is so much healing to be done. And this month, we have a ton of opportunities for you to open your hearts and begin to heal the world. Opportunities to go beyond the vote, go beyond Band-Aid solutions to challenge and heal systemic sickness in our society. There is so much to do. The world needs your ministrations. Now, I'm going to list off a bunch of opportunities here. So ask yourself, what lights my fire? Where does my great passion meet the great needs of the world? Is your passion justice reform? Then write letters to people who are incarcerated. Through prisoners are people too. These folks need to hear from you. They need to hear that they are alive, that they're not forgotten, and that they matter. Give them hope and comfort. If you're interested in sending letters to incarcerated people, please talk to Hi Carell or send me an email and I'll hook you up. Maybe you're lit up by healthcare reform. Well, then support the Evergreen Health Services through our Share the Plate ministry. Make sure that all people in our community can receive equal access to care. Healthcare without discrimination is surely part of the beloved community. Maybe hunger is your issue. Then promote independent, healthy living in our community by delivering nutritious food to our homebound neighbors through Meals on Wheels. This is even more important during these days of COVID. It doesn't take much time to drop off 5 or 10 meals. But what's it worth to you to offer one of our elders much appreciated compassion? If you're interested in finding out more about Meals on Wheels, contact Kathy Taylor or email me and I'll hook you up. Or maybe economic justice is your thing. And I've got exciting news here. The congregation is partnering with 10,000 Villages, the little shop of super cool stuff and gorgeous things right across the street from our church. 10,000 Villages is all about proving that greater justice in world trade is possible. It's all about changing the rules and practice of conventional trade and all about putting people first in business. Imagine that kind of economy where people come first. 10,000 Villages is a nonprofit that not only promotes fair trade, but also fights poverty, racism, and climate change. This is good stuff. Look for exciting mission-based holiday shopping opportunities for you, just our congregation. One final thing. This Tuesday, this nation will be holding an election. Now, we all know that. What we don't know is A, the outcome of the election, and B, what post-election mayhem may arise. What we do know is that if there is post-election reaction, if there is a reaction, people who are traditionally found at the margins of care in our society will be at risk. And I'm talking especially about Black people, Brown people, Indigenous people, the GLBTQ plus community, and people with disabilities. We as people of faith are called to offer sanctuary and support those endangered by powers and structures of evil. If you are interested in joining me in a post-election response ministry team to care for the most endangered in our community, please let me know. Send me an email though, because if it's in the chat, it might get lost. Oh, my beloveds, there is so much to do. So many ways to heal the world. Letters to the incarcerated, evergreen healthcare, meals on wheels, gas to your table, fair trade, and post-election preparedness. What lights your fire? How can you help heal the whole? Liberation has a rhythm to it. A longing our bodies know without words, a movement away from everything small and scared, a waking up to possibility, healing backwards and forwards. Even now, we are beginning again, unafraid of all the mercy, tenderness, pleasure, power we hold together. We come to lean in, learn the sound of relationship, receiving and releasing. We come together to become more than ourselves, to call upon love, to sing of courage and kindness. Beloveds, despair has not yet won. Together we have so many ways to heal our world and bring justice, peace, and joy to all. Let's join in singing, "We'll Build a Land."
Build a land where we bind up the broken. We'll build a land where the captives go free, where the oil of gladness dissolves all mourning. Oh, we'll build a promised land that can be. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. We'll build a land where we bring the good tidings to all the afflicted and all those who mourn, and we'll give them garlands instead of ashes. Oh, we'll build a land where peace is born. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. We'll be a land building up ancient cities, raising up devastations from old, restoring ruins of generations. Oh, we'll build a land of people so bold. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. Come, build a land where the mantles of praises resound from spirits once faint and once weak, where like oaks of righteousness stand a people. Oh, come build the land my people beseech. Come build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream.
No, we still can't hear Charlene. So let's join together as we extinguish our chalices in saying these words. As we extinguish the flame of this chalice, may we carry its light with us into the world in the power of peace, faith, justice, and love. Do not be dismayed by the brokenness of the world. All things break, and all things can be mended. Not with time, as they say, but with intention. So go. Love intentionally, extravagantly, unconditionally. The world waits for the passion that is you. Remember, you are blessed. Remember, you are a blessing. And above all else, remember, you are not alone. You are never alone. So be it. Blessed be. And let the church say, Amen.